All right, so we're in here in a standard Model Y, and although we had an opportunity to check one out at John Young's Parkway when these things started showing up, they're finally available for demo, so they're giving us 30 minutes so we can take this thing on a ride. And that's what I'm most concerned about, or most want to find out, is how well this thing drives, because the suspension is different, and a lot on the standard is very different. We have materials that are not as sound deadening. We don't have dual pane glass. As you can see, the headliner versus having glass up there, there's a lot of differences that should, in theory, impact the ride quality and the sound that we're going to hear in the cabin. So that's what we're here to do today. I have this video right here that you can check out if you want to find out more about the specific details of the Standard. But today's video is focused on the ride quality and how this thing drives in comparison to I guess is what we're now calling the premium Model Y. So with that, let's dive in. Let me show you what we're working with today. I've got my co-pilot with me all the way from Israel. Captain Ellie is here with me, so we're checking it out. I think actually he's got a car coming up this weekend that he's going to be checking out. So make sure to check out his channel as well. He'll be doing a deep dive. But we're in a standard Model Y. This one's black, and it does have the base wheels. After this drive, we'll get out and do a walk around. So we'll do that stuff. I really want to show you what it looks like under here because I got feelings about that. But we are in the Standard, and I got to say, so they were forced to give us a FSD drive. So we've been sitting in these seats. They were comfortable on the ride. I actually really like these base seats. I'm not saying that they're an upgrade from the other ones, but these are actually really comfortable. And because they're not all vegan leather, they breathe pretty well, which is, I think, pretty nice. And this area right down here, it's funny to see that we're coming back to this era where we've got the boat down here instead of the console. And I really like that. It adds a lot of flexibility of what you can do with this space. My wife's purse would go right there every time she gets in, but it's a nice space, and it actually adds to some of the, I don't know, the openness up here in the front. Everything else kind of feels the same. Of course, we don't have the ambient lights, and that is very noticeable. It's very dark in this car. I will say that. Now, that said, it is dark outside. Nonetheless, we don't have a whole lot of time, so that's enough chit-chat. Let's just go for a drive. What I want to do, though, is kind of do a loop. I want to hit the interstate if we can. The problem is it's a toll road. I think we just do it anyways. We'll head over to the Turkey Lake Supercharger and then turn around from there and come back. Let's see if traffic's going to be an issue to do that or not. Come on. Come on. There we go. Okay. No, perfect. 15 minutes there and back. So we'll have every speed between city streets to the interstate. So let's get moving. We'll do this all on full self-driving and get a good feel for this drive. So we're on the interstate now, and unfortunately we just had a camera issue, so everything I just shared with you is gone. So let's start over. We're on the interstate and at 80 miles an hour. I'll just pick you up from right where we're at 80. There's more road noise as far as wind and the tires. I can hear the tires on the road more in this car than the premium. It's still marginally quieter than previous gen, but not significantly quieter. It's very similar to previous generation. So in that sense, it's actually quieter than I expected it to be, because this car, they've removed a lot of the soft touch features. A lot of the extra carpet is now plastic. A lot of the soft touch plastics are now just hardcore plastics. And that has all come to impact the road noise you're going to hear in this, including the dual pane windows. And sitting here, the sound that I am hearing is coming from, some of it's coming from up here and behind me. So I don't know if it's this area or if it's behind me in that window. And then I can hear the road coming up from the floor. And interestingly enough, on the previous road at 50 miles an hour, when we get back there, I'll explain that road noise to you a little bit, because it is a little bit different. And suspension is the surprising one, though. So we were just talking about it, how I assumed they took the previous suspension in Model Y and put it in the Standard, and we should expect that type of a ride quality. I think it's marginally better, though. And there's a couple of things that point out to it being better. One, it's quieter on impact. Two, those impacts are much better absorbed. Like what we just did there, I didn't move in my seat. So it's marginally better, but it's not quite as fantastic as the new suspension on Juniper Model Y, the premium one. That one's really, really good. But I'm surprised. It's actually a lot better than I expected. And I think that this headliner is also a big plus that's helping some of the sound. So rather than having this big open window, we do have this, and this is definitely going to add to sound deadening. And I'm gonna manually take us to the right spot because I don't want to go through the police side. But the other thing, the seats. I really like these seats. We've been in this car now for 15 minutes or something, and the seats are really comfortable. One of the things that's great about these seats, even though they're a much cheaper option, is that they, although they don't have a cooled function, they just breathe better. And it's still cushiony, it's still comfortable, but it's not trapping air. And that's a big issue with the previous version of it, because that vegan leather just kind of traps all that heat and air in it. And it's just not the best. It's not ideal, but the cushioning is fantastic. And that is one thing in the premium that changes when you get the cooled seats, is the padding is actually thinner in the premium. So this one is much closer to that really thick padded seat. And I think it's really comfortable. And I personally like the breathability of it. It's not nearly as like warm on your back sitting in the seat and things like that. So surprisingly, without that cooled feature, I probably would pick these seats over the other one, honestly. So if it weren't for the cooled seats, this would definitely be my choice. And that's interesting because this is the step down, so to speak.
Of course, it change from state to state. You know, we are in Florida, so it's a big deal for you in Florida.
Cooled seats here are much more important, for sure. Yeah. Let me just fix my destination. And I think it showed. Oh no. Okay. I'll have to add that in manually. But here we go. Full acceleration. Come on. Like the slow one, right? I love the comment I used to make people. This is the slow one. It's like, this is faster than any car I owned before Tesla's, right? The slow one is still plenty of juice. This thing likes to accelerate. And when you're on the interstate, that's really, really nice. You don't have to worry about getting around traffic and things like that. Let me add Tesla as our destination real quick without making Full Self-Driving mad at me. Right there. No, right here, over here. Costco. We'll just go over there because I guess apparently it doesn't know where Tesla is. Come on. Sorry. There, Claremont. That's what it's called apparently. All right, whatever. Okay, so anyways, back to it. On the highway, it is louder in here than the premium, and it's clearly louder. It's similar, maybe slightly quieter than previous generation. So that is very clear. The suspension, though, is a highlight. That's a plus. It's not nearly the same as the premium, but it is really good. It is much better than the previous generation, even in this standard version. We're still trying to kind of figure out, is it all suspension, or is it the huge sidewall on the standard wheels? And I've had 18-inch wheels with a big sidewall in our 21, so this is definitely softer. And I think they basically took the previous suspension, enhanced it slightly to get us to where we are in this. And the reason I say that is because as you are hitting imperfections, it's not throwing you around as much as my 21 did, certainly. And our newer one that we have on lease, that one is pretty comfortable, but I'd say this is comparable to that, but marginally better in comfort. When it comes to sound, it's very similar. So not nearly as quiet as the new Juniper in the premium trims. Full self-driving, exactly the same, right? That's one of the beauties of Tesla as a whole, is full self-driving works so well and it's consistent. So if you get in a 3 or you get in a Y, you're gonna have the same experience, which is a beautiful thing. This one is on 13.2.9, so we do not have V14 on this one. So the good thing about that is V13 is a really stable build, so we don't have a lot of the quirks and things, especially when people slow down to 50 miles an hour in a 70, which is a lot of fun. Hello. Thank you, FSD. Let's get around him. So anyways, back to it. Everything is the same in this car as the premium from a driving perspective. We're using full self-driving. It's the same steering wheel, same screen. We don't have ambient lights, but we have the same general look and feel. I personally, though, like this cavity down here. I don't know why. We moved away from this in the original S because it was too cheap, right? And added this console and this complicated thing, and it was a more premium feel and stuff. But I actually really like this because this is super practical. My wife, her purse would be here. My personal travels, I always have gear with me, and it's always in a bag of some sort. This is the perfect spot for it. Perfect spot for it. And I also like some people I've heard from that kind of sit like this, or if you're really, really tall and your legs need somewhere to go.
That's me.
This is much more comfortable. There's a lot more room for your legs.
I always complain about that.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, you're one of those people where your leg is always
My
resting on that thing.
Resting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So taller people are really going to appreciate that. And I think people who travel with bags, whether it's a woman with a purse or if you're a dude with a backpack or whatever, right? Like this is super actually practical. And the cup holders you still have, they just don't close, and that's not necessary at all. But the location is good. The armrest is similar, and it's in the same spot roughly. So comfort is good on that. I do not like the phone chargers up here, or I guess the phone cookers, I should say. The phone heaters on this one, they're much more vertical, and I was having a heck of a time getting my phone to charge on these. So that needs some work, honestly. But because they're so vertical, and this is not like a cavity down here, your phone hops around in here. I do not like that. I think that's kind of a problem. Because as soon as your phone, if you hit like a hard bump, if it falls down, that is going to distract you. You better be in full self-driving when you're doing that.
And not to mention that if you charge your phone with a cable, in the premium, you can just leave it here with the cable connected, and here you cannot actually leave it here connected to a cable.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because even upside down, if with phones today, like the one that I'm filming on right now, upside down, you cannot fit a cable and the phone. Because of this wall, because this is the only way I can get my phone to charge is upside down on this thing, by the way. So that needs work, honestly. But when it comes to the driving experience, is the Standard a step down? It's not nearly as much a step down as I expected. Like, I really like what they did with this car as far as stripping it down and making, quote, a cheap version. I love a lot of what they did. There's a few things that really annoy me, but overall, solid job with the seats, with the removal of the console, a cheaper frunk. Like, the things that they did were spot on. The price is a whole other discussion, but it doesn't feel like it's a cheap version, right?
And as I was telling you, but we didn't record it, I'm coming from a place where we have 40 Chinese brands in Israel, and let me tell you, cheap is cheap. This one doesn't feel cheap. I feel like it's a carriage, you don't jump in the seat, it's not plasticky, and you have the freaking robot.
Yeah, I mean, AI is built in. This one's AI 4, right? Like, it's doing things that no car in this price point anywhere can do. Let alone even higher price points. But the ride itself, the point is, this is not a cheap experience in this car. This is really a nice, very refined ride. This is probably on the whole, between the softness of the ride, AI4, and the suspension, this is a better car than the previous Model Y. Even with the more premium finishes, this car is a better car, I think. Yeah, I just wish it was a better price point. That's my gripe. I know that's a controversial take, and I know that's not fun to hear, but I think it's too expensive. And the reason is because to step up to the premium, is so minimal, because by the time you switch these wheels to the, okay, so there we go. That's the hardest bump we've had. And that is a different feel than it is on the premium. So by the time you upgrade the wheels to what comes standard on the premium, for $1,500, you're $3,500 away from a premium. That's a lot of equipment you're adding for $3,500, even without that.
But to be fair, a lot of people are stretching out as it is, you know, before they purchase a car.
I agree. I just don't agree with the premise that a $40,000 buyer is a different buyer than a $45,000 buyer. I think they're both too high up into there that it's the same customer. You know what I mean? I hate saying that, but I really feel that. But the nice thing though, this is everything you would hope in a comfortable, nice Tesla ride. If you got into this for the first time in a Tesla, you would not think that this was anything stripped down or cheap. And for those who already know Tesla, if you're coming from the previous generation, you would not sit in this and say, this is less car than I have today. This is more car. This is very nice. I think that most people will really like this. Now, coming from a premium Juniper to this, that's the only way you would notice differences, honestly. So unless you're absolutely deadly in love with the vegan leather, which is the only way you can get white, admittedly, I don't think there's much about this you wouldn't like coming from like a long-range all-wheel drive. I think this thing is great. Acceleration is good, performance is good, it's smooth. AI4 is amazing with full self-driving.
You wanna try the speaker?
We are going to try the speakers, but I have to mess around with it so we don't get a copyright strike. So we'll have to pull something up that's able to be there, because I do want to check out that, because the sound system in Teslas is insane. Oh, yeah. So how cheap, quote, is the sound system in this thing? So we'll definitely try that here once we get back and parked. But yeah, I'm impressed.
Oh yeah. So you want to summarize for a second, like what is it that we don't have in this car?
Yeah, so a few of the things that are different in this car versus the premium, right? We don't have power folding mirrors. So those are manually if you want to fold them. Is that a big deal? I don't know. We don't have the center console. We have basically half the stereo as we do in the premium. A slower 0 to 60, which is still way faster than almost every car at this price point on the market. The seats, the adjustment on the seats is one of the things that I don't like, but that's not a deal killer. You have to adjust the seats on the screen, and I don't like that. For whoever's driving this car, though, where's the seats? Where is it? Oh, right here. This is how you adjust the seats. Mine over here in the driver's seat, I think it's 14-way adjustable. His is like 6 or 4 or something like that. This you'll get over, because even though it seems like, oh, that's ridiculous or stupid, you're gonna set it once and it's saved to your profile. I never adjust my seats once I've set them, and that's the case here. So that makes sense. That side though, there's always somebody different in that seat, and I don't like that so much. But if you're trying to find ways to cut out and not like alienate a customer, I think that one's like the stretch one that you can get away with. So it doesn't have power on the seats. They're not vegan leather seats. I think they're a lot nicer than I expected. You have a different suspension. You also come standard with new wheels that we've never had before. They're even smaller. We've never had an 18-inch wheel option on the Model Y. They're super ugly without the wheel covers, and even with the wheel covers, they're not that pretty. They have a huge chunky sidewall, but that huge chunky sidewall is good for 2 reasons. 1, it gives you a softer ride. 2, it gives you cheaper tires to choose from when it's time to replace. So those are 2 really good things, actually. And that can also give you the opportunity for more efficient tires for range purposes. And speaking of which, this thing's still 320 miles of range on the standard wheels. That's crazy. I was not expecting that. I was thinking as low as, although probably not likely, 250 miles. And maybe on the high end, 280. I was not expecting over 300 miles on the standard option. So That was shocking. And it's also not an LFP battery, which was also surprising to me. I really think that they could have gotten away with less range and a cheaper battery.
Right.
And I think that could have helped with the price, but we're talking marginally better cost, right? Like, how much cheaper would an LFP battery pack with the size required to get you 280 miles? How much less money in cost are we talking versus the same battery chemistry and cells as what's in the premium Model Y that gets you 320? Are we talking $1,000, 2,000 maybe? So maybe that would get you closer to 35 grand than you think. I think 35 grand's the right price, by the way. Uh, Let me back this thing in and take you around outside. What do you think, Ellie? What do you think about the ride overall?
No, I loved it. There's no way around it. Once again, when I hear cheap, I think about the Chinese brand that I have in Israel, and this is just a Tesla. From my perspective, it's just an amazing car. As always, it's all about the software. It's all about robotaxi. By the end of the day, yes, I obviously want a cheaper price, but Tesla knows what they're doing. I'm happy with whatever they give us. I'm not a big fan of what we can find in the front. So if we're going to
we'll go
open the front, yeah. But all in all, it's a Tesla.
Yeah,
there's no way around it.
Yeah, and the most important stuff is still there, right? We have AI4, the same full self-driving experience. We have a power lift gate still. The seats back here still fold. They're just manual now. I think those are like big things to still have. I think those are things I thought maybe might be going away, but they didn't. I agree with you though. We'll go outside and point out a few things that are but the ride itself, this is an upgrade. The Standard is an upgrade from the previous generation Model Y, in my opinion. Unless you're dead set on not having fabric seats, this is 100. This is definitely an upgrade. I think it's marginally better sound and marginally better suspension for a softer ride. So this feels like an update, even with it being the standard or cheaped out version, so to speak. Yeah, they did a fantastic job on this. So back to the things that it's different or missing, right? So we already talked about some of the things. The headlights are different too. The headlights on the premium are really wicked. They're really cool. They do some wild stuff with turning pixels off and surrounding light around people. And you would think, if you're used to Tesla from back in the day, how great are the automatic brights? They're so good. They're super accurate. I'm not blinding people, but I still have this great visibility. Those headlights are amazing. This goes back to the previous generation headlights, which are fine. They're nothing to write home about though. And you don't have fog lights either. So these headlights are a downgrade. You don't have the light bar on the front. You don't have the light bar on the back. So those are some differences. The stereo, let's go ahead and see if we can pull something up that won't get triggered. Actually, if we go to YouTube in the theater, we can pull something up. There we go. That's what I needed to do. Okay. No copyright. So copyright for your music. Let's get this cranked. Okay. That's a lot more bass than I expected. I hate how this is going to sound shilly, but this is better than I expected. Like, I was just going to be fine with whatever. Like, it's whatever. But no, that's actually really, I'm actually surprised. That was impressive. Yeah, that was impressive. So, okay, so the stereo is basically half the stereo as what you get in the premium, and it is like amazing. But wow, this is so much better than the standard radio on the previous generation. I'm shocked. All right, so that's another big one. Okay, let's open the frunk. Let's head outside and take a look at some of the things out there that are just, you know, we need to talk about. All right, so as Ellie, who's so kind to join us, said, so here's the frunk. Two major things here. The first one, there's no light under here. So I use my frunk all the time. I know some people don't, but this, if you're in a dark spot, this is like terrible. And this material, I thought it was something else. It's actually fiberglass, so it's okay if it gets wet. But it's it's just like, man, if you put something heavy in there, you're just gonna like.
I don't see a gasket.
There's no gasket. Yeah, so this is not sealed, by the way. And it's a shallower front too because of that. This is accessible. You can get to the tire from here. So like if you're in a rainstorm, this will get wet. So this is not ideal, but here's the beautiful thing about this. And this is why things like this I'm okay with. People who are not going to use the frunk, this doesn't matter. People who want to use the frunk, there's a bunch of Model Ys at junkyards from accidents that you can get the frunk tub. There's nothing here preventing you from putting the frunk tub in there. All you need is those plastic pieces, literally. And then you can have a standard frunk. And just remember to grab the gasket, you're good to go. So you can very easily upgrade this to be more practical and useful. But I do not like the fact that there's no light. That's a big, like, that makes this almost not usable for road trips, because if you're ever in the dark, you can't see anything up there.
And the drain.
But, yeah, and the drain, which, unless you're going to put a bunch of ice in there, I don't know. But you can slam this now because there's no gasket preventing it. Let's come on this side. The lighting's better. These wheels are so ugly, but they're not terrible with the wheel covers, but they're not great. Look how chunky this wheel is. This tire is thick, but that's great for a ride quality. What you're not gonna like, however, is let me see if I can even get this off. That's a vibe. That's a vibe right there. I appreciate things like this because if we're going to take cost out, where can you take cost out where it doesn't matter? And I'm not saying that wheel cover is great, but a wheel cover fixes a cheap wheel. And I'm sure the aftermarket is going to come to the rescue on these wheels in like no time. So this, I actually am cool with this. And if it were me, no, I would keep the wheel covers on because the aero drag, but I don't know. I mean, you get benefits with having a smaller wheel and tire with the cost of replacing them and getting better tires and any kind of grip you want. There's more options the smaller you go. So, but this is so ugly and this is not much better, but yeah, interesting nonetheless. But I think the aftermarket is going to come to the rescue on these in no time. We still do have our turn indicators here, which is nice. That's actually a really big thing that I hate about not having on the Cybertruck. And then the front, we instead of having the continuous light bar, we just have the headlights, which is fine. You still have this sliver here that is a daytime running light, like that glow. And actually, if you turn around, they've got the daytime running lights on a couple of them over here, so you can see what I'm talking about. So that's cool, and actually they have the daytime running lights on everything right now. Why is that? That is so cool. Look at all the Cybertrucks. That's so cool. Anyways, but visibility is going to be just okay in this car. There's nothing special about visibility or illumination because we don't have fog lights like we had previously when it was just these headlights. Because this is the old style headlight that we had previously, but without the fog light. The rest of the front is totally fine. The middle of this car is exactly the same, except this is not powered. So this is manual fold only. And if you use that, like, it's convenient, like going through a car wash, you can save that spot and it'll automatically fold the mirrors. Or if you have a tight parking spot and you use that function, can't use that here. Probably not a deal breaker though. And then on the back, it looks very similar because it's hard to tell here, and maybe we'll walk over to those white ones just to show real quick. But this is blacked out at least, so it has a similar look when it's not illuminated. But it is still powered, which is nice. That is useful. And we still have really good illumination back here. This area back here is the same. We have the same sub trunk down here. We have the same forward sub trunk down here. So all of that stayed. And you can still put the parcel shelf in here. It just doesn't come with it. But it is set up for that same parcel shelf if you're one of those people that really want to cover the back for security reasons for the stuff you're hauling or whatever. So that's still there. But you cannot fold these seats from back here, and you can't do it from the app. You can't do it electronically. It's only manually from the straps on those seats. So that is kind of a difference. Oh, and before I close this, the middle seat, that's the cup holder now. So instead of having a dedicated pull open cup holder where the back still stays up, that's how you get cup holders in the back, is by doing that, which is whatever. I just don't like it because of the fabric, and with kids, they're gonna spill everything anyways. And the nice thing about the one we have today is it's the vegan leather and it's easy to keep clean. That's gonna get stained and yucky. Let's head over to these white ones really, really quick, just to show you the back of them, to show you what I'm talking about with the blackout kind of look behind it. And these white ones actually are a lot easier to tell visually the differences. I think the front end of this actually looks really good. I think the simple look, I think these, when they're lit up, are nice and aggressive. It's a decent look, but back here, it still looks very similar to the premium. That's just not a light. So instead of having this concave section in here where it says Tesla, it now is right here. You can't really even see it because it's in the black gloss here. So there's no, unfortunately, there's no light back there, but those are the types of things that they made decisions on that I think they did the right thing with. I think they did a solid job putting this car together with what features can we take out, what features can we offer, and do it with a compelling car. And that is this. We just got to work on the price. If we can get the price down, I think that this car is amazing. It is an amazing car as it is. One of the things that I thought might make sense is if at the end of the year there's a crazy lease deal on these things because of the price. I think that's when this thing starts to make more sense. Otherwise, it's really hard to say get this over the premium, because we're talking $5,000 if you stick with these wheels. If you just upgrade the wheels, just the wheels, you're 3,500 bucks away from a whole lot of more stuff. And I think that's really hard to pass up. So I think we should keep our eye out, because I think that pricing on this car is going to fluctuate a little bit. And actually, I just saw something just this moment that I'm glad I saw. So we heard from Tesla, this glass up here, although you could remove the headliner, this glass is not the same glass. And it's not that it's just not coated. It's actually not as see-through. It's not like clear glass. And if you look, you see that haze? That's not dew or anything. That's literally, it's not as transparent of glass on top of this car. So from out here, you can literally see, it almost looks like a flat, like a matte black wrap almost, but it is glass. And just that angle, you can really just see the difference in the finish on the glass just because of how the light is refracting through it. Really cool. I don't know if that's coming across on camera, is it?
Yeah, I can see some of it.
Yeah, and it's like this area, not the dew. Listen, I think that this car is amazing. I think they did a bang out job on this car. The Model 3 is a very similar story. It's just a lot more similar to the existing Model 3. This thing's amazing. I think this is a very awesome option. Keep an eye out for some deals on this thing, because I think there's going to be some awesome deals on this, and you will not be remiss by choosing this over the premium, especially when they start adding some of the deals on them. Fantastic car. Awesome job, Tesla, on executing on a car that removes some things to give you a more compelling price, but still giving you a Tesla. And this is every bit of a Tesla today. So with that, thank you so much for joining us today, and I can't wait to catch you on the next one.